Coming in at last place at number 21, and you probably already guessed this, Cars 2. Now, Cars 2, this movie, it has great animation. The animation is great. The voice acting is great. I feel like if they would have focused the story more on Lightning McQueen, this one, I felt like the story was very good, minus all the spy stuff. Now, that's where I think the movie gets bad, because as you can see, the first movie is like a fancy race car is learning humility, basically. And then we move to the second one, the sequel, and it's a spy movie. Those two themes do not collide together. So this movie is at number 21 for me. 5 out of 10. Coming in at number 20 is The Good Dinosaur. Now, when The Good Dinosaur first came out, I really wanted to see it, but I didn't go see it. So, about a year ago, it was on TV, it was on Epix, and I sat down and I watched it, and I have pretty mixed things to say about it, Arlo as a character just made me feel so irritated about how scared he was of everything. I understand, he was scared and he had to get over that fear. That's what basically the movie's about, but it just irritated me that he was always scared of everything. Now, Spot as a character, I love his character. He's cute, he's funny, he's tough. He's a great human, he's a great tough human. Arlo as a character, I like his character art. I just don't like that he's scared of everything. Now, this movie has good animation, so I will give it that. 5.8 out of 10. Coming in at number 19 is Brave. Now, last week, when I started watching all of the Pixar films, I've just seen Brave in its entirety last week. Now, I'm fresh-minded about this movie, and it's pretty good. It is really pretty good. Merida as a character, as a tough princess, I really like her character in this movie. Now, she's not the best princess out of them all, but she does have a great character arc with her and her mother. This movie is very great, and the animation is very good too, but the only thing that seemed peculiar about this movie was that it had a lot of adult themes inside of it, I know it's a kid's movie, it has a lot of adult themes inside of it. Merida's dad made most of those jokes happen, He was touching his wife's butt, he was looking at her naked. Just a lot of adult themes in this movie. But overall, this movie is great and has a great central story to it. And it kind of pulled on my heartstrings a little bit. 6 out of 10. Coming in at number 18 is A Bug's Life. Now, just like Brave, prior to this, I have never seen this movie in its entirety. Just like Brave, I walked into this movie fresh-minded. I've only seen clips on YouTube from other reviewers. So, watching this movie, I'm like, man, why have I not seen this movie other than now? I should definitely rewatch this movie more, because this movie was funny. The movie was funny. The movie pulled on my heartstrings a little bit. I liked it. I liked it. It reminds me of Ants. Now, Ants I did see. I did see Ants. And I don't know which movie came out before each other. I think Bug's Life came before Ants. But all in all, I think this movie is way better than Ants. Honestly, everybody thinks this idea. But the animation in this movie is not better than Toy Story 1, in my opinion. I feel like the animation in Toy Story 1 was revolutionizing, But this movie is great, and everyone should go see this movie. 6.5 out of 10. Coming in at number 17 is Monsters University. Watching this movie is pretty good. It's pretty good what they could do with this material. I like the fact that they chose to make them rivals in this movie, because it subverted expectations. In the trailers, they made it seem like Sully was Mikey's roommate, and it turned out to be Randall. But this movie subverted my expectations on how it would be. I thought this movie was going to be better. I thought this movie was going to be better than Monsters Inc. because it is a sequel, and Pixar sequels usually surpass the first. But it was not better than Monsters Inc. I honestly think Monsters Inc. is a better movie, mainly because they made it seem like Mike and Sully's friendship grew over elementary school, through high school, through college, and all the way until adulthood. But in this movie, they've only known each other for, what, 2 semesters? 2 semesters of college? So that's where I think the story kind of lost me there. But great movie. 6.9 out of 10. Coming in at number 16 is Cars. Now, Cars, the story elements are great. The animation is very top notch. The voice acting is very good too. Now, at the start of this movie, I liked it. It introduces us to this character of Lightning McQueen. He's a racer, and he just wants to go fast and go win the Piston Cup. He just wants to win to be the best. So when he gets to Radiator Springs, he has to learn humility and learn that it's not all about winning, and you don't have to be the best. There's more than racing than just winning. Lightning McQueen understands that. Now, there's a downside to Radiator Springs part. They get to more hillbilly countryside of Radiator Springs. Everyone is like country or a hillbilly. But this movie is very good. Tow Mater, he's a funny character. He is a funny character. But sucks that Cars 2 had to be this way, though. 6.9 out of 10. Coming in at number 15 is Finding Dory. Now, when this movie first came out, I saw it. I dug it, okay? The animation is good. I feel like I say this for all of the Pixar movies. Yes, the animation is very good. All the Pixar movies have great animation. But this movie, it pulled on my heartstrings a lot, Dory wants to find her family. But Dory is a side character in Finding Nemo. And when you put side characters into the spotlight as a focus, they make the sequel feel a lot less good. Now, Dory in Finding Nemo, she was funny, she was a good character. She was funny because she was a side character. She was annoying because she was a side character. Now, if you put her, the annoying side character, funny, inside of her own movie, and she's the lead, it's kind of intolerable. 7 out of 10. Coming in at number 14 is Ratatouille. Now, prior to this, I have never seen this movie in its entirety. I've seen clips online, never seen this movie in its entirety. So everyone was saying, this movie is the greatest. This movie is one of the best Pixar movies. I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. This movie is so good. And that's a tribute to Brad Bird's directing and writing. And it seems like Brad Bird, his entries inside of the Pixar canon, those are some of the best films that we ever seen from Pixar through the animation, the writing, and directing. Just like it's a Brad Bird film, it's a kids movie, but it also has some adult elements inside. But it's not that on the nose, just like Brave was. In real life, I would actually love to see this rat cook, and I would love to taste what this rat has prepared. Because Ratatouille in this movie looks so delicious. The food that this rat cooks, it looks so delicious. But all in all, this is a great film and great entry in the Pixar canon. 7.6 out of 10. Coming in at number 13 is Up. Now, Up, I think the first half of this movie is very good. The first half of this movie is so good. It's so well directed. And the only reason why I say the first half of this movie is so good is because the rest of the movie is meh, okay. The only reason I put it above Ratatouille is because of that first scene. That first scene pulled on my heartstrings, and it made me understand everything just through scenery. Just through scenery. They never talked throughout that scene. Just through scenery. So this is why this is above Ratatouille. Now, the story is alright. The animation is okay. The voice acting, okay, alright. Only thing I didn't like about it was the villain and his dogs. The villain and his dogs were so underdeveloped and underwritten. I didn't like that about the movie. But overall, this movie is pretty great, and Carl is a great character in this movie. I like his character arc throughout the whole movie. He doesn't want to be bothered as a grumpy old man to him actually accepting that his wife is dead. This is a great movie in the Pixar canon. 7.9 out of 10. Coming in at number 12 is Cars 3. Cars 3 is the best Cars movie out of the entire trilogy. This movie brings it back to a central story and continuing Lightning McQueen's story. Now, the Cars franchise had a very rocky road starting up. Cars was okay, it was meh, Some people liked it, some people didn't. Cars 2, hated by fans. Cars 3, the best movie out of the trilogy, hands down, because the animation is great. The story is amazing. It's about how Lightning McQueen, everyone around him is changing. Everything around him is changing. They're not racing like they used to before. They're not doing the things that Lightning McQueen is used to when he was a rookie. He's older now. So, a lot of newer cars, a lot of faster cars are back on the scene. So, Lightning has a choice whether he retires and give up or keeps on racing and doing what he loves. And he chooses to keep on racing and doing what he loves. And this makes for a fantastic character arc and amazing story for the Cars franchise. 7.9 out of 10. Coming in at number 11 is Toy Story 2. Now, I know a lot of people will hate me for this, but Toy Story 2 is worse than the first Toy Story. It's the worst movie out of the whole franchise. Now, don't get me wrong. Toy Story as a franchise is great. I think they're the best franchise out of Pixar. But Toy Story 2 is really bad. It's really bad on so many levels. They have too many references to Star Wars, and the animation is not as good as the first. Now, they did have a rocky production, making this movie, and they did not have enough time to make everything as shiny and clean as they wanted it. But they did great with what they had. Toy Story 2 is not the best sequel, but it is a good one. 8 out of 10. Which brings us into the top 10 with Incredibles 2. Now, Incredibles 2, I saw this when it first came out. When it came out in theaters, I went to go see it. And it's actually pretty good. This movie, the sequel, the animation, the directing, the writing, I see why they took, 16 years? 15 to 16 years to make a new Incredibles? I see why they did that. Because the animation in this movie is so good. The animation is so perfect. It is phenomenal. The writing and directing, it's kind of basically the same thing as The Incredibles, just something different, something different, crossing out the genders for one another. The dad staying home as the mom going out to work just like the dad. Brad Bird gives it his all in this movie, and it shows. This movie is very good. And I grew up watching The Incredibles, so seeing this in theaters, it was great. The greatest experience I ever had. You should actually go check this movie out for yourself, because everything is great. 8.5 out of 10. Coming in at number 9 is Toy Story 3. Now, a lot of you might be mad because this might be the worst Toy Story movie in your opinion. But obviously, this movie is not half bad. This movie character designs are the best that I've ever seen them. I mean, watching this in theaters, this was like one of the first cartoons that I've ever saw in theaters. Watching this with the improved animation from Toy Story 2 was just mind-blowing because the animation designs and the way the characters look, they just have improved from 1999. Obviously, the technology improved, but I felt like these designs were the best that we've ever seen out of the series, including Toy Story 4. This is not even a Toy Story movie, as this is a jailbreak movie, and they're trying to escape from Sunnyside, and that makes for a lot of good character moments and action beats. Now, the villain, Lotso, he has a great villain motivation, you know. It's not something familiar that we've ever seen, but also nothing original. He's a good character, and I really like him inside of this film. He fits the film perfectly. All in all, this is a great movie and a great conclusion to the Andy trilogy. 8.8 out of 10. Coming in at number 8 is Finding Nemo. Now, as a little kid, it was kind of hard for me to watch this movie, as this being one of the first Pixar movies that I've ever seen. And I think I still have the DVD to this movie. I don't know. But this movie is good. It's at least B to A tier. Now, watching it as a little kid, I thought that beginning scene, I didn't know that the Guppies had died. I didn't know that Marlin's children and his wife had died. Now, watching it today, I've now realized that scene just got me so interested in the movie. As a little kid, I thought maybe he was just dreaming about having more children and they all died. I didn't even know that they had died, really. But all in all, this movie is pretty great, and it's not even a Pixar movie. It's a father trying to get his son movie, basically. A movie about parenting. 8.8 out of 10. Coming in at number 7 is WALL-E. Now, I have never seen this movie until I got prepared to do this ranking. I have never seen WALL-E. I have never seen any clips of it. The only clip I ever saw was the trailer for this footage, and seeing a little bit of footage from other reviewers and other rankers. This movie, a lot of people said it was the best Pixar movie ever. I strongly disagree. That doesn't mean that it's a bad movie. I strongly disagree with this being the best Pixar movie. Now, the beginning sequences, just like with every Pixar movies, are the best. They introduce us to the character of WALL-E, and mainly throughout the whole first act, there's no dialogue. There's no dialogue between the characters. It's all there through scenery, and they're explaining how WALL-E feels through the way he acts, basically. This movie is not the best Pixar movie, but it is definitely not bad. Now, the end scene with the robots loving each other, I like that. I like that scene. I really don't have much to say about this movie because, like I just said, I've just recently saw this movie, and I really didn't grow up watching this movie. But it's great. I think you should check it out if you just check out the first few scenes. 8.9 out of 10. Coming in 6th place is Inside Out. When this movie first came out, this was on my most anticipated list of 2015, right under Avengers Age of Ultron and Jurassic World. And for good reason, too. This movie answers the question of what is going on inside of other people's heads. This movie answers that question perfectly. I love what they did with this movie. Mainly because each emotion inside of Riley's head has their own character trait, their own color, and their own reason for being there inside of her head, their own reason for being there for Riley. They introduced that, and all throughout the movie, you get that Riley just doesn't need happiness in her life. She also needs sadness in her life. Nobody is happy all the time. So, this movie answers that question very well. It is just colorful and fun and funny and one of the best Pixar movie entries in here. But the only reason why I have it at number 6 is because I like other Pixar movies better than this. I think I will go back to other Pixar movies more than this movie. All in all, great movie. 9 out of 10. Which brings us into the top 5 spot is Monsters, Inc. This movie was great. I think the first time that I ever saw this movie was inside a Pizza Hut. And it was one of the funniest movies that I've ever seen sitting down at a restaurant. This movie is great. Sully and Mike are the best dynamic duo at this. I don't know, what do you call it? Two men trying to raise a child type of thing. That's what I get from watching this movie. Boo, she's a standout character, and the villain, he's like a mentor figure basically at the beginning of the movie, then turns into a villain later. I like those type of character beats. 9.5 out of 10. Coming in 4th place is Toy Story 4. Now, coming into this movie, I was not skeptical at all, just like the rest of the reviewers and rankers on YouTube. I was not skeptical at all. I honestly thought that this movie could work and this movie will be good. Pixar lived up to my expectations. This movie was so good. This movie was so good. I think the only bad things about it is that I don't like the character designs. As I've already explained before, the character designs in Toy Story 3 was so well done. Why would you need to change them with the new technology today? Andy in this movie, that did not look like Andy, really. But I could see what they tried to do there. They tried to enhance the technology a little bit more in this movie with better animation and everything like that. But this movie ended off the Woody character arc so well that it has to go in number 4. 9.8 out of 10. Coming in 3rd place is Coco. Before watching all of the Pixar movies, I have never seen Coco and had no intent of watching this movie because I've always thought that this movie was just a ripoff of DreamWorks' Book of Life. I literally thought that. I mean, come on. It's obvious. A Mexican musician goes to the land of the dead. Come on. Doesn't that sound familiar of a movie that came out, 3 years before this one? This movie has a lot of things coming from the Book of Life. But this movie does a lot of things that the Book of Life cannot. This movie shows more character moments and more character beats. And I actually felt sorry for the characters in this movie. And Miguel is just a great character to see on screen, and he's very charismatic and he's very innocent. This movie is really colorful and the music is great. Honestly, I think you should actually see this movie because it's funny, it's fun, and it's a great ride for the whole family. 9.8 out of 10. Coming in 2nd place is The Incredibles. The Incredibles is one of the best Pixar movies I have ever seen. We have already had a Toys Come to Life movie, a Bugs movie, a Monsters movie, a Talking Fish movie. So why not tap on the superhero genre for once? Brad Bird, this is his best movie out of all of Pixar. And it shows the action is exhilarating. The character moment and character beats, they are just on point. And each character has their distinct trait. They have their distinct trait, and it's interesting. It makes for a very interesting film. And I like to see this superhero type of stuff because Marvel is my favorite out of all of the superhero genres. Marvel is my favorite, and The Incredibles take a lot from Marvel's superheroes. Basically, The Incredibles is a great movie, and every family should actually see this movie. No matter if you like cartoons or not, definitely see this movie because it's a lot of adult themes inside of here. 10 out of 10. Bravo, Brad Bird. But coming in my number one spot is Toy Story. Toy Story is the first Pixar movie I have ever seen. And this movie just brings me back to my childhood. I collected all of the Toy Story toys, even the ones that weren't even related to the movie, like bubble capsules and stuff like that. I would collect Toy Story toys every birthday and every Christmas that I could. This movie brings me back to my childhood every time I watch it. And the toys themselves, they have their own character traits and reason for being there for Andy. And as this being the first movie in the series, this starts the arc of Woody, which then ends in Toy Story 4. This starts the arc for all the toys, which ends in Toy Story 4. This movie starts the arc for Andy, the Andy trilogy, which then ends in Toy Story 3. This movie is just a breath of fresh air, and everyone should actually go see it because it's not inappropriate at all. 10 out of 10. Bravo, Pixar. Your first movie is still the best. Alright guys, that's it for the ranking. Please note that everything that I did say in this video is my very own opinions and my very own thoughts. So please feel free to rank your Pixar movies down in the comment section below, from the worst to the best. That's it for the ranking. If you like this video, like, comment, subscribe. See y'all next time. Peace.